We are now coming down the stretch of the 2022-2023 NBA season, and for the entire year, the Sacramento Kings have been playing some great basketball. Right now, they sit at third in the Western Conference with a record of 35-25, and I believe they're like a half game or a game behind the Memphis Grizzlies for the second seed, and I just have to say that is so impressive. And I don't think nobody saw this from the Sacramento Kings this year, and when I say nobody, I mean the general public. I think me personally, I was big on the Sacramento Kings coming into this season. After the off season that they had, you guys can go back to around the summertime and look at the bids. I was huge on the Sacramento Kings, and I think it was the same thing for Sacramento Kings fans. I think they expected this from their team this year, but I don't think the general public did. Now, for the Sacramento Kings, I think their success, I think it all comes down to what they did in the off season. I think it started with them going out and hiring Mike Brown, who I think right now has a strong case for Coach of the Year. He has one of the best offensive systems in the NBA today. And even though the Sacramento Kings, they don't have a bunch of great defenders, and sometimes defense is an area that they struggle in, I've seen them a few times this year. They're always giving maximum effort on that side of the ball, and they've won a few games by locking in defensively. So I think we have to give huge credit to Mike Brown, and we also have to give credit to the front office for surrounding De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis with the weapons that suits their playing style. And we look at these weapons that the Sacramento Kings brought in this offseason. It started with the NBA draft, and the Sacramento Kings were blessed with the 4th overall pick in this year's draft. And I know you guys remember a whole debate about whether they should draft Jaden Ivey or Keegan Murray, because Jaden Ivey, he was seen as a top level talent in this draft. He was the guy that they thought was going to go 4th after the big three went, and the big three was Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith, and Paolo Banchero. So everyone was basically saying that the Kings would be fools not to draft Jaden Ivey, and me personally, I thought the complete opposite, because if you look at the Sacramento Kings over the last 2 years, last year and a half, they just drafted Tyrese Halliburton, who's also a guard, and he's another guy just like De'Aaron Fox who loves to have the basketball in his hands and operate the offense. And I think we all know that that's not going to work. Two guys essentially playing the same position, so they went out and they traded Halliburton to bring in Sabonis, and obviously that trade has worked out tremendously for both teams. Tyrese Halliburton, he's playing some great basketball. De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion, is playing the best basketball in his NBA career, and so is Domantas Sabonis. So it was obviously the right trade, and I think it's working out great for the Sacramento Kings. So we come to this draft, and I think with Jaden Ivey, it would kind of be the same thing. Why would they draft another guard if they just traded away Tyrese Halliburton? Really wouldn't make any sense, and that's why Keegan Murray was the correct choice. And I think he just fits so well in with the Sacramento Kings, and especially around De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, because Keegan Murray, he's a guy that can be effective on the offensive side of the ball without the basketball in his hands. He's a great cutter. He's great at knocking down catch and shoot threes. He's shooting 41% from the three-point line this year as a rookie, and he gets up a lot of them. So that's very impressive. And also, whenever he does get the basketball in his hands, and he was just like this in college, he makes his move very quickly. He doesn't have to pound the air out of the basketball, and he makes quick and effective moves. And Keegan Murray was also brought in for his defensive prowess as well. He has the ability to guard multiple defenders, and I think he has a lot of defensive upside, and he can also rebound the basketball. So Keegan Murray, I think he's having a very solid rookie season. He's been available all year long. He's putting up 12 points per game to go along with 5 rebounds, 44% from the field, and 41% from the three-point line. He's played a huge role in helping the Sacramento Kings win basketball games this year, and that was their ultimate goal. And they didn't just stop in the NBA draft. They also had a great free agency signing, and that was Malik Monk. And bringing in Malik Monk was very important for the Sacramento Kings because they brought him in to play a very crucial role, and that was to be the sixth man. And the sixth man for the Sacramento Kings is the guy that's going to come in and serve as a perimeter threat whenever De'Aaron Fox hits the bench, and that's exactly what Malik Monk does. And what I like about him is that he's a very versatile offensive player. He gives you a little bit of everything. He can play with the basketball in his hands and operate the offense. He can score in isolation, run the pick and roll, set up his teammates, and also he's sneaky athletic. If he gets ahead of steam going downhill, he can get up and punch it on anybody, and he's also a very solid finisher. And when we go back to him being versatile, he also can play without the basketball in his hands, so he has the ability to be effective and play alongside De'Aaron Fox or Domantas Sabonis because he excels at knocking down his catch and shoot 3-point shots. And he's having a very solid year for the Sacramento Kings. He's putting up 14 points per game to go along with 4 assists and 2.5 rebounds, and I think those are pretty great numbers coming off the bench. And we also have Kevin Huerter, and he wasn't brought in via free agency. They worked out a trade to bring him from the Atlanta Hawks, and I think he's also been very important to the Sacramento Kings this entire season. Now, I don't know if it's a stat for this, but I'm pretty sure the Sacramento Kings, they run the most dribble handoffs in all of the NBA, and most of those dribble handoffs are between Kevin Huerter and Domantas Sabonis. Now, a dribble handoff is one of the most simple things in all of the NBA, but I think when you have Kevin Huerter and Domantas Sabonis running it, it becomes one of the more trickier things to guard because Kevin Huerter, he's a great three-point shooter, and with that dribble handoff, it immediately turns into a pick-and-roll situation. Domantas Sabonis, he might not look like he's one of the strongest players in the NBA, but if you listen to his peers and the guys he plays against, they tell you that he's like a brick wall, so he's setting some pretty effective screens, and if that big that's guarding Sabonis doesn't jump out on Kevin Huerter, that's an easy 3-point shot. So with Kevin Huerter, he obviously is one of the best shooters in all of the NBA, but what makes it harder with this two-man game is that he has the ability to put the basketball on the floor. So now if you do jump out to contest his 3-point shot or take away the three, he has the ability to attack that big off the dribble, and now it's a pick and roll situation. He can get that ball back to Sabonis once that big comes up, and I think this is where the Sacramento Kings, they make a lot of their bread and butter because Sabonis, he has been so great as a playmaker this year. So when he gets the ball on the short roll, there's so many different things he can do. He can rise up and knock down a mid-range jump shot. He has the ability to put the basketball on the floor, get to the rim, and then also he's a great player, a great playmaker. So if the defense immediately rotates to him, he has no problem making the correct read to a wide open shooter or cutter. So I think Kevin Huerter, I think he opens up a lot for the Sacramento Kings. He's been playing very solid this year, 14 points per game, shooting 38% from the three. And just like Malik Monk, he doesn't just serve as a spot-up shooter. He can also run the pick and roll, set up his teammates, create his own shot. So I think the Sacramento Kings, this offseason that they had, bringing in Mike Brown, drafting Keegan Murray, bringing in Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter, it has made life so much easier for De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. And De'Aaron Fox, over his last 4-5 games, he's been playing out of his mind, and I think he's having the best season of his NBA career, and he's putting up some great numbers this season. He made the All-Star team. He's averaging 25 points per game to go along with 6 assists and 4 rebounds, and he's also doing this while shooting 51% from the field. I feel like anytime you can average 25 plus points per game while shooting 50%, that's pretty damn impressive. But what's really gotten my attention from De'Aaron Fox is what he's been doing over these last 7 games. He's been terrorizing the NBA. Over this 7-game span, he hasn't had a single game under 30 points. He scored at least 30 in that span, and the highest he scored was 42, and that came against the Los Angeles Clippers in that crazy double overtime game that became the second highest scoring game in NBA history. But De'Aaron Fox, there's not much I can tell you about his game that you don't already know. The way he's been able to just mature his skill set, and what I mean by that is like now he knows how to play with patience and play with that lightning speed that he has. And when he does that, it really keeps the defense guessing, because you just don't know when he's going to accelerate. And then also when he does accelerate, he has that ability to stop on a dime, and his mid-range jumper has become green money. So De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis been playing great this season, and they've been able to play great this year, and it translates to wins because they have a great coach in Mike Brown, and they also have the right surrounding pieces surrounding them. So the Sacramento Kings, I think they're going to be a very dangerous playoff team, and I think they're a lock for the playoffs unless something catastrophic happens, which I don't see happening. But they're going to be a very dangerous team in the playoffs because they're very hard to stop. And also in their first series, I see them having home court advantage, and those fans in Sacramento, they've been waiting for another playoff series. So I think every home game they have in the postseason, the crowd is going to be rocking. So I'm very excited to see the Western Conference playoffs this year. It's going to be so crazy. But that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.